Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Brand new TV show spoiler review. We're going to break down episodes 7 and 8 of Star Wars The Bad Batch. As now we are at the midway point of season 2 of The Bad Batch on Disney Plus. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews like this, movie breakdowns, movie rankings, and a box office breakdown. So please subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below. What are your thoughts on these 2 episodes? Did you like one more than the other? Did you like that we got 2? Do you wish we had 2 at least every single week? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please like the video also, by the way, with the thumbs up button down below. I'd appreciate it. So as I said, it was announced, I think, Monday that there would be 2 episodes dropping this upcoming day. And this actually makes perfect sense because very similar to what Star Wars Rebels used to do, they used to do basically part 1 and part 2, and they would give you both episodes. Now, this obviously wasn't part 1 and part 2, but it very much was the same story for 2 episodes, like they did the first week with the releasing the first 2 episodes of season 2 to us on its premiere date. So I was cool with all of that situation. Now, because it's both episodes, I'm not going to break down every single little detail that I could do in when I break down single episodes, but I'm still going to break down these episodes in spoiler fashion. So if you've not seen any of the Bad Batch, including these 2 episodes that came out today, be warned because you're about to be spoiled. So the first episode is called The Clone Conspiracy, and episode 8 is called Truth and Consequences. The overall the overall story of these episodes is that one of the things we've been looking at when watching The Bad Batch is the transition of clone troopers to stormtroopers. And the clones, and the reason why is that the clones are starting to act on their own again. They have their own opinions because they're actually people and not willing participants like stormtroopers are. And the whole first episode has no Bad Batch in it that we got today, episode 7. It was all about, we go to the Senate, we see the Senate floor, like we did in Andor. So this and Andor now giving us some post Revenge of the Sith Coruscant scenes. So we go back to Coruscant here this episode with episode 7. And this is where we go to the Senate chambers, and the Admiral who basically destroyed Kamino, who definitely told to destroy Kamino, is going up against the senator, the blue senator right here, who we know from 16 episodes. I looked it up, 16 episodes of Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Senator who makes her return, obviously aged a lot more. But if you know Clone Wars like I do inside and out, you know how important she is. We see Bail Organa in this episode as well. And the whole point is that she is fighting. There's no one, even when there was the Republic, there was no senator that was representing the clones, and they're people too, basically. And that was her stake, is that she learns that there's a clone who says that the Admiral is the one who ordered Kamino to be destroyed. It was not a storm. And she goes through this whole episode. It's Slick who we're after the entire episode. And this is the person who helps out the Senator Chuchi is Captain Rex, who's obviously my favorite clone by a lot of my favorite characters in Star Wars. And it's always good to have Rex added into the mix here. So at the end of the episode, Slick is killed by an assassin who we've been seeing chasing around our heroes the whole episode. As you see, we learned at the end of episode 7 that this is actually a clone who doesn't have any memory and is just designed literally just to only follow orders. And before the clone obviously talks, he kills himself by, chewing on that thing that we saw, I think, and also the Mandalorian season 2, I believe. I don't want to say season 2, episode 3 for some reason, I want to say, for Mandalorian. But we add in the episode, and that leads to episode 8, which is where Rex calls in the Bad Batch for this mission. And obviously it's very personal to Echo, as we'll learn towards the end of the 8th episode. So basically they split up. The Bad Batch and Rex go after these codes, the video, to get the footage, the clear concrete proof that the Admiral is the one who constructed the attack on Kamino, while Senator Chuchi and Omega go off on their own expedition. This is where they find one of the former senator who we saw in Clone Wars, who represented Kamino, who was disgraced from the Senate. She says that the admiral was actually moving funds away from Kamino years prior. So they have someone who's saying it, who has proof of that, but they need physical proof what the Bad Batch are for. So they begin the meeting and she obviously calls out this admiral who's been the main villain of the show. And obviously, our Bail Organa at the beginning of the 7th episode said, "Where's the Emperor? He should be here if we're discussing things like this." He said the Emperor really trusts you guys to figure this out. So the Bad Batch and Rex get the video footage. Chuchi shows it in the Senate meeting, clearly showing it. And as it's coming up, we get the debuting on the show, I think since the very first episode of Bad Batch in season 1, is Emperor Palpatine, voiced by the one and only Ian McDiarmid, who played him in all of the films and live action. So Ian McDiarmid voices Emperor Palpatine for a really haunting scene. And it's now one of my favorite scenes of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. It's a devastating scene, and I think it's even more devastating because you have the hindsight that these clones are going to be destroyed. They're going to be either homeless, left to fend for their own, and they're just not seen as people in this society anymore. And after, see the homeless clone trooper in Obi-Wan and seeing where Rex goes in Rebels, that they're kind of just left on their own to do their own thing. It's a really haunting scene that he actually used this admiral, who's the villain for our first season and a half of the show, as a pawn for Palpatine to use the turning to stormtroopers as a positive thing. And what he basically said with this person, obviously he's a traitor. Why would he do that? But then he also said, we also have to blame the clones who blindly followed orders to kill their own home planet. So not just is he going to arrest that Admiral Rampart for those crimes that he obviously ordered, but he's also claiming that the clones blindly followed orders. So this is Palpatine's Emperor, Darth Sidious's ways to frame both Rampart and the clones to get what he wants, which is stormtroopers. And it's a really haunting and devastating scene, especially if you watch Clone Wars and you've seen The Bad Batch. You just care about, they are real people, and you really see that in those two shows. Obviously, when you see Rex and Rebels as well. Just a really sad scene. So we end the show with this episode, actually, with the Bad Batch about to leave, and Echo is staying with Rex. Echo obviously says, "These are my brothers. I can't leave them behind in a time like this." And the Bad Batch just don't have time for that right now. They need to keep surviving. And obviously, the Bad Batch weren't really a part of these whole clone. They were kind of disregarded. And as you know, in Clone Wars, Echo was. And Echo was with Rex. And he knows that Rex is leading the fight, and he wants to be alongside Rex. So they say goodbye, and a really emotional goodbye. That it's really emotional with Omega and Echo. Because we begin the 7th episode with the conversation between Omega and Echo. The Echo's like, without them, I wouldn't be here right now, and this is why I'm with them. And obviously, he's really happy he was with the Bad Batch, but he sees himself more with Rex anyway. So we end the episode with the really emotional Omega and Echo scene. Now, obviously, in Rebels, if you know ahead of time that, Echo is not one of the 2 other clones who's with Rex when we meet him in season 2 of Rebels. So I really assume that Echo is going to rejoin the Bad Batch sometime later in the season, because in Rebels, he's not one of the clones who was with Rex when Kanan, Ezra, and Sabine get there. So we shall see if Echo goes back to the Bad Batch. It looks like we will, but that's how we ended this episode of the Bad Batch. I actually really loved these 2 episodes. For me, very close to the 3rd episode. These are fantastic episodes of Star Wars television with great job embodying the little guy. It's not always about the Jedi and the Sith. Lives are just being lost for no reason as well, going from clones to stormtroopers, obviously for cheapness. But if you really do care about these clones, you understand how crazy this is, that their lives can be thrown away. They followed orders, did everything they could, and it's still not enough. So I love these 2 episodes of politics, really a political spy type thriller were these 2 episodes, and I loved every bit of it. So that's my breakdown of episodes 7 and 8. As I said, we're at the halfway mark now. Somehow we're still only at the halfway mark of season 2 of The Bad Batch. There are 16 episodes, just like the first season. So we'll see if they do another thing where they want to release 2 episodes the same day. But at least on IMDb, it does say that the last 2 episodes will be released on the same day. So for the next, I guess, let me see, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks will just be 1 episode a week until. So we have 6 weeks left of The Bad Batch. Let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. I'll be back every single Wednesday, continuing to break down these Bad Batch episodes. Every Monday, I break down The Last of Us. Every Tuesday, do a box office breakdown show. More movies are also coming, but guys, to the channel this upcoming weekend. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys.